The election, of course, was on a Tuesday, but on this exact date in history, 25 years ago, was the most memorable presidential election in many of our lives. Al Gore, who was then America's vice president, faced George W. Bush, who was then the governor of Texas. Seth Kaplan is here now with more. Good afternoon again, Seth.
Good afternoon to you, James. Yeah, we'll start with the end, right? This guy became president, but a lot happened first. I put this date on my calendar for today a few weeks ago when I realized it was coming up because I couldn't wait to talk about it. Indeed, 25 years to the day since we all voted and thought we were going to find out that night who the next president was going to be. Instead, 3 weeks of those hanging chads in Miami, which would later actually become a bigger part of my personal life. We can talk about that in a minute. When the counting stopped, George W. Bush led by 537 votes, and the Supreme Court ruled that was that. He was the president. That was a 5-4 ruling, conservative justices siding with Bush. Democrats pointed out all kinds of voting system mistakes in Florida. It seemed to perhaps deprive Al Gore of tens of thousands of votes. But James, in the end, Gore was the president and would end up serving 2 terms. This kind of all comes together with, the death of Dick Cheney recently, where, he was elected with that vice president. Some people say he was one of the most influential vice presidents in American history. So all kinds of stuff exactly 25 years ago this day.
I mean, it was something that, if you lived through that, the most memorable election, probably the longest ever. I mean, just waiting and waiting and waiting, because at that time, we were very used to just having those results that night. Yeah. This took weeks to play out, and everyone was watching Florida.
And I lived in Florida, but personally what happened was I had been working in a newsroom which had been shut down a week earlier. And when we found out a couple months before that was going to happen, I said, well, I'll go travel in Europe. Then why not, right? They gave us severance pay. All right, let's go spend money, see Europe. So I went with my then girlfriend to Europe, right? We were in Venice on that date, November 7th, right? So, well, here's what we're going to do. We got a train in the morning to Rome. Let's go to sleep early, wake up at 1 in the morning, which is 7 o'clock Eastern time, and start seeing the results come up. And by the time our train leaves at 6 in the morning for Venice, we'll know who the president is. We'll go down there, right? So we do that. We wake up and we start watching. And it was CNN was what we could get in the room there. I made sure to book a room that you could get that. and everything started normally. And then toward the end of that, if you remember, it is when the network started saying, wait a second, something's not making sense here between the exit polls and all the rest of it, and all the chaos started. But then we had to walk over to the train station and take our train down. So we get to this hostel in Rome the next morning, right? We're checking in. The guy asks for our passports. He says, "Oh, Florida." We say, "Yeah, Florida." He said, "So election." He knew that something happened. So we say, "Yeah, so who won?" There were no phones or any of that to find out. He said, "Well," this guy in Italian was trying to explain. He said, "Well, first Gore won. Then Bush won, then Gore won, then Bush won." We said, "Well, who won?" He said, "Nobody won." We said, "That can't be." Let's go find out an internet cafe and find out who won. Well, 3 weeks later, we still didn't know who won.
Just
I'll show you. Actually, I'll show you here. I've got that's what. That's me. Look at this. That's me on the left in Venice. So that would have been right before this, and then that's me at the Colosseum in Rome on the right there. When I thought we were going to know who we. Creatively cropping those pictures so that the poor girl, I don't think she meant to be on TV in Harrisburg a quarter century later.
And then this ended in December, I believe.
Yeah.
When they finally had the Supreme Court had to step in and then said, okay, it's now over.
Yeah.
George W. Bush won.
Yeah.
The funny thing, Seth, is you had such vivid memories and you have pictures of it at all. Jackson wasn't even born yet.
Isn't that unbelievable? Okay, he was technically born, but not. How about you?
He has no memories.
Yeah,
I was a young kid when this was going on, but I did remember watching all this play out. It was just incredible. Something I haven't seen before, and we haven't seen anything like that since.
The hanging chads I mentioned. So I ended up working after that. I left journalism for a little while. I worked for Miami-Dade County government, and my big job in 2004 was to be a part of the election administration. I was the media person for the election officer. So all that stuff with the hanging chads, that's when we got a new system there. And the whole world was there watching to see if we would get it right in 2004. And it ended up being an uneventful election in Florida in 2004. They're now regarded for kind of just
Right.
things go,
Right.
because of all that.
It was
I had
just
no
a
idea.
normal election.
Yeah.
All right, Seth Kaplan, thank you for the walk down memory lane, and I love when you can bring pictures along. So come back anytime. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Eric Finkenbinder from ABC 27, and we're excited to announce the new ABC 27 News Plus app. Live stream newscasts or watch content on demand. This is different than the ABC 27 app on your smartphone. You can check this out at home, and it's very easy to use. With a Fire Stick, go to the home page, scroll down to search. From there, enter ABC 27. Move over to the apps, and there we are. Click the icon and install. It's just that easy.